No doubt about it, and this is a case where both of these teams, they are hungry for their first win here in this Overwatch World Cup group stage, and though neither of these two teams may be able to make it to BlizzCon this year, they can still end their tournament run with a bang.
Well, as much as it pains me to say it, I absolutely agree with Flame. Just kidding, love you, Matt. But they need to be running their triple DPS. That was the big question I had when I watched Brazil as well, that they run triple DPS very, very well. They went on a D.Va, and what that did is it put them behind in a lot of situations where they'd have to switch off and who's going to run the D.Va, who's going to run this or that. I think you go with the style that you're known for, and New Zealand also really likes running kind of a slower style, a more tank composition. That's what they planned on playing, so it could be a clash of two different compositions here, Zeke.
It very well could be, and one thing that you don't want to sleep on with this New Zealand squad is that they do have big threats. We have seen moments in this tournament where even against the juggernauts of the scene, like Team USA, like Chinese Taipei, we've seen Willix go forward, use a Nano Blade to his advantage, where Kantus throws a Nano Boost on him, and he's able to Dragon Blade to the back, and Signed, on a wide variety of heroes, has really had better contribution than expected, so Brazil cannot take this New Zealand squad lightly.
I completely agree. I think Brazil would have done better had they stuck with their guns early on and just played their actual style. In New Zealand, I think they would have done better if they just had a little more time, because you see those flashes of brilliance out of this team.
Well, Brazil right now going on the attack. They are going to be running a dive offense, and there is no D.Va in sight. This is triple DPS. This is what we've been saying Brazil might want to consider running here, and so far they've been given a lot of room. New Zealand letting Brazil get the high ground right now. This is very advantageous right now for Brazil, where they're going to be able to evaluate New Zealand and look for the right way in.
Well, it's very advantageous because you have a soldier on the high ground rather uncontested. Uwu was looking for him but ended up taking the wrong doorway. They're still unable to evict them. They're going to have to sit back into the hotel here and just wait for their opportunity, but the offense and defense kind of switching spots.
The poke from Brazil finally taking form. Huwu going to be knocked out of his mech here early on. It's 2 opening kills now from this Brazilian squad, and slowly but surely they are working their way into the point, and this is looking very good for Brazil. They should be able to flip this here in just a moment. They have not suffered any losses here so far.
Well, it's one of the great parts of the triple DPS is you get that opening kill, and then you're in a 6v5 with a ton of damage to back it up. You see Dudu right there with a couple kills, got himself earning up to this pulse bomb right here. He has been a saving grace, and in a tournament with a bevy of tracers, Dudu has marked his ground as well.
No doubt about it. I mean, you take a look at Dudu. He was able to bloody Sinatra, able to bloody Bacon Jack. He's a very good tracer now. He has room to work. Throws a pulse bomb into the back. Doesn't quite connect, but takes down Sign. A pistol butt right to the face. He's going to fall, but here comes New Zealand. Willix bringing out the blade and even things out just a little bit.
Here on the other side of things has been Willix, and he didn't even really have to bust out the blade. Now the blade comes out, and he gets actually pushed out a little bit. Maybe, wow, gets good healing there towards the end, but it is a flip around from Brazil as they find the return kills as the offense continues to roll through the streets phase of Kings Row.
New Zealand diving perhaps a little bit deep there. Brazil able to reestablish themselves, get momentum, and that means winning the fight like that they're going to be able to get this payload at least halfway through second here. New Zealand, no choice but to back up, regroup, and look for another way in.
Well, one of the tragedies of Brazil not necessarily always running the triple DPS is that we didn't get to see Liko on the Genji all of the time. He's going to have his Dragon Blade up. They've done a pretty decent job of staggering their ultimates. I think they should be as aggressive as possible here because New Zealand about to come online with several of ultimates of their own.
Liko right now cannot be more aggressive in the front line right now, looking for an opportunity to dive in. He's going to be waiting for Neil to move in and give him a bit of a distraction. Then he's going to use that Winston dive in as space for his Dragon Blade, but we see from New Zealand, they use the barrier, they go right in, but it's a nice disengage from Brazil. They don't give New Zealand anything.
We've seen beautiful disengages throughout the tournament, and I think that is a mark of a well-coordinated team to make them waste all. Now they come in with their own sound barrier and not even the blade yet too. Transcend comes out, so he's waiting it out.
Liko has to hold out the defense offense, so now he goes in. The Transcend is over. Kantus taken down with 2 swipes. Liko looking for more and gets more. Finds Willix into the back and keeps Brazil in this fight.
He had to get at least 2 there because he pulled that blade out after they'd already lost 2. Extremely back and forth now as it turns into a brawl. However, the defense will hold strong there closer to the cart. Offense has to reset. Going to be a little bit of a walk to get back to this point.
Will take quite a bit of time, but the one thing Brazil has right now is time. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left here, Hex. Plenty of time for 3 to 4 really good attempts here on second.
It was an interesting blade from Liko. You think they may have been able to hold it. They lost 2, and he was already being patient, but I think the timer was in his head that as soon as Zenyatta stops glowing on busting out the blade, Attack Visor could be coming out.
Willix with the blade, going to be forcing out the Transcendence. Now he has to get away. He can't do anything into the Iris, must back away, and Brazil, they punish on that retreat. Dudu able to find Willix as Maurice goes off. It's a triple kill for Team Brazil, and that should easily let them bring this payload to this next point.
Well, as a Soldier 76 with a tactical visor, there's nothing happier to see than a Diva in the kill feed going out of the fight, able to clean up the rest of that. Neil got in here with a nice cleave damage early on, and Winston's maybe not showing up as all-stars in that kill feed, but they're the ones who started. They soften up targets.
Well, speaking of starting right now, Neil just cruising for a bruising right now, going really far up, getting Discord Orb, and actually has to back out a bit. So Brazil making some space, and now here comes New Zealand. They're going to be engaging directly in, and Brazil, they disengage once more. They see the beat getting dropped, and they don't want any part of it, but Neil's, oh my goodness, thrown into the pit. This means Liko has to work a little bit harder.
Living life with the Omnix down there. Liko's trying to get in here, but he's had to have a lot of the deflect up on his blade, actually. And now with the loss of Dudu to his counterpart in Sign, it is time for a retreat. But the bright side for Brazil is that the next fight will have both support ultimates they can layer in with all the healing.
Brazil has a lot of options here where, as you mentioned, they're going to try and layer these support ultimates together, where whether it be Transcend or Sound Barrier, you will initiate with one, wait, then use the other, and use it to get the other team off guard. Here comes the barrier coming in right now from Brazil. They're moving in, looking for early kills. It's going to force the Transcendence out of New Zealand, but now Colero, he can use a Transcendence of his own, and there it is. The re-engage is underway in Brazil. In a great position, they're going to pick up 2 kills.
Picture perfect execution thus far as Candace and Birdie down, but a saving grace of an execution over the top from who will take down 2. Willix on the cleanup, and though the execution was beautiful from Brazil, sometimes detonation of fireworks over top will swing a fight.
That was very good patience from Huwu. He was waiting for Brazil to finish layering in their support ultimates, and that's when you know that Brazil is going to be fully engaged. He threw the self-destruct over the top, got the kills necessary, and with Willix, it gave New Zealand key stability.
They absolutely needed that fight to stabilize. It's a fight by all rights. Brazil should have won, but a great counterplay by New Zealand.
All right, Brazil moving in once more. New Zealand, though, ready to engage right back. Back and forth between these 2 teams at the moment in Brazil. A little bit tentative, but they are winning the poke war a bit. New Zealand, they have to give up room. And now Brazil, with the Primal Rage about to be underway, they can really make some serious space.
And it's going to put them in this corner because you don't want to be on the edge on the other side when a Primal Rage does come out. He's going to knock him in, and now here comes the Primal Rage, looking for that closeout, pushing them back in the door. 3 quick kills. Sign does hit a pulse bomb, but that is it. Does he get him off the edge? You got him!
Got him! Right into the pit goes Birdie. Oh my goodness, Neil, you should be playing golf right now. Great stuff coming in from Brazil, and now New Zealand. They just need a little bit more of the stall, but they don't have much room to work with. Huwu going to be taken down early on. The last moment Transcendence coming out. If Brazil can weather this, they will be in a great spot to take this map.
It's very solid stall, and Neil finds himself all alone in the back line there. The rest of his team had retreated. They're going to come back in with the Transcend of their own, but off into the pits! Transcend does not defy gravity.
No, no matter how spiritually enlightened you might. Oh, what? New Zealand, you gotta stay on the point. That's
C9.
Just a bit. Well, that Brazil getting bailed out perhaps a little bit there after their Zenyatta did a little bit of exploring into the pits, but in the end, it's still a decent time here from Brazil on Kings Row, and will force New Zealand to counter and turn and try to find a way to complete the map as well.
Pretty evenly matched teams, some really nice plays and counter plays into it. The double support counter with the pulse or the self-destruct over the top was extremely unique, and I think that's just a great sense of the momentum that the team's pushing in, and knowing that you have to find something, but also that you're timing it perfectly, that the healing's going to be gone and they're going to be out of position trying to capitalize on those support ultimates.
It's very interesting to see the back and forth in Overwatch, where at this point how teams manage ultimate economy is not too much of a surprise. Teams do try to keep tabs on what the other team has coming up their sleeve, and that was the case where, look, we can only match one of these support ultimates, but what if we throw the self-destruct in over the top towards the end? And it's a case where that counter did work out very effectively.
Not really one-sided fights either, just very, very brawlish back and forth. Even when a team won a fight, they only won it with 1 or 2 people remaining.
Well, the interesting thing is that coming into this group stage here, when you look at these 2 teams, people gave Brazil a lot of credit and didn't give New Zealand a whole lot of hope. And both of these teams, while they came in weaker than USA and Chinese Taipei, I think that New Zealand is actually a bit stronger than people might have thought early on. It's just they're in a group with Juggernauts. So the fact that they are able to go back and forth with Brazil somewhat evenly right now doesn't really surprise me based on what we've seen from day 1 and day 2.
Like I said, there's been flashes of brilliance from this New Zealand team where when they start getting going and they get the momentum of Willix timing his blades correctly and Sign hitting pulse bombs, they've been really able to push back some teams that they don't necessarily have the same talent as. So if they just had a little more time, I think they'd be a much stronger team. But here we are, New Zealand versus Brazil. New Zealand on the offense this time around.
We have swap sides. The blue team is now on the attack. The red team is defending, and New Zealand looking for a way in. Signed right now being a bit of a distraction on the side, hasn't committed fully yet. Legabrill going in, looking more towards the hotel side as New Zealand right now is taking their time. They're evaluating the terrain, but you have to think they're going to be going in soon, and there it is. Legabrill leaping right in, starting to push Brazil back. Huwu right with him, so it's a good opening here from the tanks in New Zealand, and Huwu backing out, not going to be back in time. The counter engage from Brazil, now striking.
I have to question a little bit the coordination of that dive because the dive went in and it seems like a small thing, but Huwu's defense matrix is already down to about 1/3 of life remaining, which means the time in on the dive where the Winston's going to be protected is minimal. You saw him try to get out. He lost his mech and life shortly after. You want to go in with a full defense matrix if at all possible.
You definitely do, and I think part of that for New Zealand is that they did create some space. They weren't getting the fall through from their DPS, though, that you need with that level of opening. In Brazil, finally, they said, look, we can go back in. However, the next fight is underway. Legabrill, this time much better, finding Maurice early on. A 6v5 opportunity for New Zealand, but with Cantus falling to Dudu from the back, Brazil can still very much fight this back. New Zealand flanked from both sides.
Well, they lost one, but that's because the counter dive came in right there. So they came in all up over the top. Legabrill will get out with his life, but just, nope, never mind. Liko does chase him down on that Diva, and so far the defense holding very strong. So there's a couple different ways to handle a dive. You can retreat and catch the dive, which is a term we like to use. Go back and protect your supports and protect the heroes who are going to be staying back there. Or you can counter dive and see if you can be more effective on their back line. That's what they did there.
Dudu has been favoring coming in from the back, and it's really been hurting New Zealand when they try and dive in because they have that distraction to the back line where you can't ignore him, but if you focus on too much, your dive will be rough. Willix, though, the blade is charged. He's going to move in, and the Transcendence is out early. Now he gets to save his Dragon Blade. He's going to hold on to it, but now the Transcendence is gone, and the blade can come out to play. Moving to the back line. Barrier or no barrier, slicing through the Zenyatta, and will be picking up Cholera.
They do get 2, but there is a 2 in return already coming back right now. As I said, it's been a brawl between these two teams, known with a really clean fight. Right there, Brazil chose to catch the dive instead, step back with their ultimates, with their Transcending, trying to get the healing on. Not quite over yet, and at least they forced them to burn the sound barrier at about 90% progress.
And New Zealand now finding their groove, finding a bit of momentum. They will be taking this first point, and now their payload will be underway.
They will start going here. Not a whole lot left in the bank. As I said, they had a very late sound barrier there just to make sure that they were able to grab first point. Signed has been a bright spot for this team, able to take down tanks. He's hit his pulse bomb so far. That's the sound barrier they had, but I suppose you want to make sure you get that point.
Legabrill right now looking for a little bit of sneakiness here, but no, going to find his counterpart in Winston, diving right in on him. Huwu bringing friends with him, and not really the good type.
Huwu. It's a fun name to say. A difficult name to say. Because you want to say woohoo, but it's Huwu.
It's a case where it just messes with me. But you know what? Woohoo! Here comes New Zealand. They're going to be charging right in. Legabrill, though, perhaps a little bit too eager. Going to get focused down. New Zealand not able to keep up their take front lines. Dudu strikes again into the back. It's going to be 2 kills for Brazil as they do stabilize.
I wonder if he stuck Signed and Signed ran into Cantus, or it was the other way around. Generally, you don't see that happen. But we're going to actually get an instant replay. He did stick the Zenyatta, and then Sign might have just accidentally blinked into it. I've blinked into many of deaths accidentally as a Tracer.
We've seen many a time where, whether it be a Winston leaping into his Pharah or otherwise, that pulse bombs can be deadly if you're not aware that you've been stuck by them. But Brazil right now, holding firm on this defense. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left now for New Zealand as they look to go in. They're going to engage. Legabrill directly to the back, but Brazil, they drop the sound barrier, and now they can layer the Transcendence. They're very healthy right now as they counter dive right back in New Zealand. No kills yet, though, for either team. Relatively bloodless here so far.
Being very aggressive on that defense is something I like to see. They do get the Primal Rage in there. It's going to knock Willix around. He's still looking for a window into this. Going to have to wait for that Transcend to go off, for that light bulb to go out. Cantus does fall for this team, though, so it might not be time for Transcend. You might want to back out of this one.
And that's the thing, is that support ultimates are the lifeblood of a team. So long as you have one up, you can keep your team alive, and that gives Maurice the opening to use the attack visor to clean this fight up relatively easily. New Zealand now very much fighting the clock on top of fighting Brazil. Only a minute 40 remaining.
Well, it was smart for Will to not bust the blade out, Will X. He's going to have Dragon Blade for the next fight, and during that fight, they're going to have an enabling combo come on. The sound barrier into the Dragon Blade is much better than a Transcendent in Dragon Blade because that shield goes with you everywhere. You don't have to stay within the light of Zenyatta.
Sound barrier coming in, Will X taking the opportunity, diving right in, looking for targets, but no, he cannot dash again. He didn't get an initial kill. That's it. His mobility goes away, and he's not able to complete the kills. Brazil has been a master of disengagements here so far, and they're going to go back in. They might be down doo-doo, but they still use the barrier to push New Zealand back. However, one good support ult deserves another. New Zealand is coming right back into this fight.
You mentioned massive disengages. It's been disengage after disengage. They've been so crisp on these calls to get out that New Zealand has looked foolish with several of these ultimates, and now the chase is on. They're not going to disengage from this fight, and they will not let New Zealand do so either. The chase gets to, and now New Zealand down to their last push through streets.
That dive from Neil was sublime. He got very low, used the Primal Rage at the right moment, stayed alive, and did enough disruption to really push New Zealand back. Hex, we are down to the final 30 seconds.
New Zealand might want to start it off with a self-destruct just to open up some room here. Who is going to have that up over the top in the corner? It can be decent on the streets phase, but they're going to have to dodge some Brazil DPS ults. There's Pulse Bomb and visor up.
It connects. The Pulse Bomb gets on the Kansas in the back. The first kill to Brazil. 6 versus 5. The final opportunity for New Zealand, and they are losing player after player right now. Doo-Doo is unchanged, moving around the payload, and Willix, even though he pulls out the blade, he's pressured back. Doesn't quite get as much as he wants, as Brazil still the dominant presence on the payload, and now we are in overtime. You cannot back off in the payload if you're in New Zealand, but they are outgunned, they are outmatched, and Brazil about to close this out.
There's just much bigger bodies on the card for them right now. The tanks do finally join, but the people who were holding down the fort were also evicted from the cart. Both tanks now here, and the reinforcements have come in for the offense. Defense, one last stop for Brazil.
This is really big here, where Brazil, they were close to having it, but they did not give the reinforcements enough respect, and now New Zealand out of nowhere able to bring this back. We're still in overtime, but Brazil, I don't think they can stall this out anymore. No one is near, and New Zealand, they have bought themselves some extra time.
Generally, we see the tanks buying time for the DPS to get back into the fight. That time it was the DPS staying alive, blinking around the cart to keep the cart alive and buy time, and then the big bodies, the tanks came in, kept it alive for New Zealand. They got the second point, and in turn, they will get another minute to try to finish out King's Row.
It's still not a great situation for New Zealand, but they do have hope. Sound barrier now coming in. Ligabro looking to create space into the front line. The barrier, though, has gone away. Huwu out of his mech, but Brazil holding strong here so far, able to disengage here once more, not getting thrown off too much by that Transcendence. It is 5v5 though, and here comes Neil.
Kansas has got revenge on Doo-Doo the last couple of times. New Zealand continues this push. It is a solid 6v4 right now with 1 DPS and 1 support down from the fight. Willix has a blade. Will he bust it out looking for the right? No! He eats a Helix instead.
It's very difficult to pull out your blade when you are dead, something that Willix is finding out right now. Still though, New Zealand keeping pressure onto the point right now. They have 30 seconds left, but they were trying to carry as much momentum as possible. However, with the blade, there is an opportunity here. There's no barrier or Transcendence up to ruin his day.
This is tough. They've been banking ults, but the 2 ults, as you mentioned, the blood supports of this team, the support ult's not going to be there. They're going to open it up with a self-destruct, pushes them back into the corner. Willix eats a Helix again. Mirror shutting him down.
Helix rocking a Destiny from Maurice, taking down Willix early on, and that is big. They don't have to worry about the blade at this juncture as Maurice under pressure, and though he goes down, it's not enough for New Zealand. Brazil going to take back number 1 here on King's Row.
It's a good look for them, and we highlighted it, but I want to talk about it again. Disengaging to me is a mark of an excellently communicating team, that they're able to call everyone get back. That requires for your DPS to disengage to pull back. It requires your Lucio to have the boost to pull your team back and get out of there, and Brazil did it time and again.
Really, disengagements are one of those things that can be underrated in Overwatch, where you don't have to take every fight. if you know a team is going to be investing heavy resources into a fight, if you can simply back out, you don't have to match resource for resource. You can simply go back in when that power spike is fading.
We even saw it in the previous match, and both Chinese Taipei and USA had excellent engages, and it was just who got the better disengage a lot of the time here. Brazil's disengages were a thing of beauty throughout King's Row. And the next map we're going to go to will be Control Point. Sometimes a little more difficult to disengage. Sometimes you just don't want to disengage on Control. You just want to stay in and fight for as long as possible.
Absolutely correct. We're on Control so long as you have one person contesting. You could be losing the fight outright, but still gaining progress, because the name of the game in Control is getting full control of the point where the other team is not touching it, the point, for a set period of time. Then you flip it over in your favor. So the rules of engagement, a little bit different on Control maps relative to what you might see on a hybrid or payload map.
I think Willix has to feel special in the worst kind of way, because I think that Brazil figured out that that is what New Zealand wants to clutch around. Willix with great moments on his Dragon Blade, but if you notice towards the end, there's a reason that that Helix was always ready for Willix to come in, because the Helix rocket knocked him out a couple of times, but they're saving it for him. They know that he's going to get aggressive and dance around a little bit, and the Helix shut him down twice in a row. They know if they can shut down Willix that the rest of the team's going to have a difficult time getting kills.
Willix has been very big to New Zealand, but the problem is that when other teams realize that you are that problem, they work to isolate you and go, look, if we're going to lose to you, you're going to have to beat us with your other players. And for now, because New Zealand has been doing so much work with Willix, he is a bigger target for Brazil, and we saw him get focused, as you mentioned.
It's a strategy in every sort of team sport. You take away the best player from the other team, and you see if anyone else can step up. Now, for the New Zealand team, I would have to think it's got to be signed. He had some nice moments. He was sticking some pulse bombs, and I know you're a fan of this. We might see a little bit of Cowboy here.
Oh, anytime I see McCree, my heart just goes a flutter. You know me far too well. But if we ever saw a Junkrat on here, I know it'd be the same for you.
I do enjoy Junkrat as the spice of life. Also, I've been spoiled. My favorite hero is Tracer, and Tracer's just the best, so she's obviously in every meta. You know, when you're the best hero, you get to play in every single game. But New Zealand signed would be running that Tracer. Now he's on the anti-Tracer. This is New Zealand's style. I'm glad that they're trying it out. They wanted to run more tanks, they wanted to run slower, and this is a stage that allows it.
No doubt about it, and this is where New Zealand, they do like slowing it down. Kansas, under pressure early on, Dudu being a threat into the back, and that's going to let Brazil come in through the front. So what this will do more than anything else is that this is going to attract the attention to Sign, where he has to really pay respects to this Tracer, lest Dudu really disrupt his team. And it's going back and forth right now. Maurice, though, able to cut down Legabrill. His shield was broken, and now Brazil is going to move in. That is the danger of running a tank-heavy composition, where if the shield gets taken down, it's very difficult to actually hold your ground.
Great patience and coordination there, because Dudu did not get greedy and go in. They were trying to bait him in. That's why Willix went out there, so that he would chase him up the stairs and then get flashbanged by Sign. He only went in when he had the tank support to follow it up, the tanks who could call out where his counter was. A nice play from Brazil.
What you're seeing here is that a lot of damage is being thrown into that shield. Legabrill had to back up. Normally with the tank composition, you want to be the aggressors, you want to really fight in the opponent's face, but it's been difficult. But there's a Graviton Surge coming up from Huwu, but matched immediately by the Transcendence. That keeps Brazil alive, and they can now go right back in. Here comes Attack Visor.
Just a second too late on that anti-heal. An anti-heal can completely shut down the Transcend. You want grab and anti-heal going in right one after another, so that you can clean up everyone that you grabbed into the Graviton, but unable to do that means that Brazil will flip it back on the punishment and take control of the point again.
Very good stuff here from Brazil. And New Zealand, even though they did show a bit of life there, they only end up with 13%, so they don't have that much to show for it. This next fight, more of a must-win for them, where we need to see something big out of Willix.
It's just a misstep that you get the grab, you got everyone in it, and the anti-heal's too late. The anti-heal needed to be there earlier.
Heal right now, lots of cleave damage coming in. It's nice from Brazil, and they pile on the self-destruct, taking down Willix. We were talking about Willix having to have a good fight there. Not going to happen when you get blown up by a diva.
It's been a quiet game so far for the New Zealand DPS here. You can run a slower style, you can run more tanks, but at the end of the day, if you're not getting eliminations, it's going to be very difficult to get onto the point. Willix has to be the initiator. I mean, maybe give him a Zarya shield to get in. They should be able to get better entry because of their tanks, but still getting bullied back by just the Winston and D.Va.
Brazil is making it very difficult for New Zealand to get through corridors, but here comes a Nano Blade and Barrier. Willix, everything on him. Can he convert? No kills here just yet. Chases Lucio to the wall and will be taking him right down. So a heavy cost extracted here, but one that should pay New Zealand's toll for reflipping this point.
The Nano Blade does cost them 2 ultimates, as is the nature of that, and that's exactly what you need to happen afterwards. You need to win that fight. They were able to take down both supports. Nice target selection there for the New Zealand squad to take them down, and now this is a great position for them. 2 of the best ultimates in the game are Earthshatter and Graviton Surge. They've got both of them up. It's going to be hard for Brazil to come back in here.
New Zealand simply asks, do you want to hug your teammates or do you want to hug the ground? They have both available. They're going to open up here with the Graviton. Is the fall through going to be there? It's a little bit awkward. They don't get it immediately. Now Bro, make them hit the ground. He drops the Earth Shatter, but I'm not sure it's enough. The Transcendence keeps Brazil very much alive as Dudu strikes the back.
Earth Shatter came in way late. There was already 2 down. You're going to invest an ultimate there when you have no cleanup. Even if he had knocked the rest of the team down, the cleanup would not have been there. This results in Brazil taking the point back, and now it's desperation time for New Zealand. Just going to throw bodies on the point. Are they able to get here?
It is in overtime right now. Willix lucky that he didn't get that blade killed a moment before. He'll still have it, but he's not going to be able to get back. Brazil able to clean up control on the point. 1 round away, Hex, from being up a swift 2-0 over this New Zealand team.
Huwu almost got there towards the end and then just got booped off the edge. The search for the gold down there, but based on what Doe said, the gold probably belongs to the robot technicians and the anti-freeze salesman, not Mandata.
It's very possible. I mean, at some point you do also have to pay for that anti-freeze. You don't keep robots in working order up here without quite a bit of maintenance. It is a harsh environment.
Yeah, you need a mechanic. You need a solid mechanic. I bet you there's a lot of mechanics in Nepal.
Torbjorn's brother is actually a monk. He lives up here.
Yeah.
That's a true untold story.
So he's bald, but he still has the enormous beard, is what you're telling me.
Oh, you can't sacrifice the beard. It's actually, it would kill him if you removed it.
It's the source of his power, like Samson. All right, well, here we are on the second stage of Nepal. Brazil up 1-0 in the stage, 1-0 in the set. New Zealand trying to take some zeros off the board, and, you know, at this point, I'm kind of rooting for him. I want everyone to win.
Everyone getting at least a point on the board would be fun. You don't want to look back at your World Cup record and see nothing but goose eggs. And for New Zealand, they have shown flashes of brilliance, but they haven't been able to put together for a full round here just yet. Brazil, better positioning early on, and they find Cantus immediately. Cantus not able to stick with his friends for that fight. He's taken down, and now Brazil really starting to put control of this fight in their favor. The tank play, sublime.
They almost brought it back as they were able to take down support for support. Signed was the one who got in the back end and was able to take down the opposing Lucio, which is actually no small feat for a Tracer without your own Zenyatta to get him discorded. But then, you're right, it's been Neil. Neil's been crushing some of these fights. His follow-up leaps onto these remaining support have been great, and now you're seeing Mura's flex over to the D.Va. It reminds me a bit of the Rogue team, where depending on which 2 DPS they want to run, the odd man out has to run the D.Va. Gets to run the D.Va.
The pleasure of running the D.Va. But hey, D.Va can be a great glory, as we saw from Coolmat earlier in the day, so let's not hate too much. Liko moving into the backline. Zenyatta is his prey, and he goes too deep. New Zealand able to protect Cantus in the back, keep him alive, and now the counter engage is coming back in. 4 unanswered kills here from New Zealand off of what was far too aggressive of a dive from Brazil.
They will end up taking this point. It's just a matter of how long Dudu can stall it, how much percentage points his life is worth. Seems about 5 there as Willix on the cleanup. Willix angry, and he's going to have the blade for the next fight as well. New Zealand now starts putting progress on the board as well. They cannot lose this stage without losing the map.
This is going to be a bit of an ultimate showdown coming up here, where we know that Neil has a Primal Rage and Liko has a Blade. New Zealand will have a Blade of their own and a Transcendence a little bit later into the fight. This will be a crucial fight to deciding who takes this round, so a lot at stake here for both teams as they set up. It very well could be Blade v Blade.
No team with a distinctive ultimate advantage. A lot of this is just going to be about execution. Liko's going to bust it out first, tries to find a target to Transcend down there, is going to keep Lucio alive, even with the Discord on him. That Blade might as well be made out of styrofoam. It does nothing.
Not exactly what Liko was looking for this time. New Zealand working the corners right now. 4-on-4 though, still even. Cantus in trouble. Liko gonna grab him. Able to redeem himself in the middle of this fight. Finally going to fall though as Huwu might be the glue for New Zealand and holding onto this, but it's very close.
Well, fights like this that are very back and forth favor the team which is already in control. You need a full eviction. A nice pulse bomb late from Dudu means that they will eventually have the numbers on the point as reinforcements should come in. The 3 remain on the point for New Zealand. Brazil can come back in here with a little bit better force because of that late pulse bomb, but I think they're just going to try to fully regroup.
Brazil right now, they do have options, but they don't have a whole lot of time. At 70%, if this next fight goes along, it could be their final attempt. So crucial to them right now is a good barrier engage. It'd be even better if they could bait it out New Zealand first, but for Brazil, they're more likely to use it early. Gabriel goes in, and he forces out the barrier from Brazil, but Coolermaster's down already. A good start here from New Zealand.
That was a beautiful dive. That's exactly what you want out of your dive, is your Winston and Tracer to hit the same target at the exact same time. Coolermaster never knew what hit him. He didn't even have time to discord either one of those leaping divers in on him. Just down before that fight even starts, and that will end the fight. New Zealand probably going to take this stage. Brazil going to have a hard time even getting there. They shut down Lucio before he can touch the point, and we got a game of Nepal on our hands.
Both teams finding a way in here thus far, and though Brazil started out strong, New Zealand able to strike right back, and if they are able to take the next round, they will even up the series 1-1.
It was a nice game there from Signed. He was able to get there and work well with Gabriel. The dive was a much more coordinated. The coordination overall seemed better on that stage than it did on the previous stage, and those things need to come together. The coordination in Overwatch is so precise. You need to hit things within a fraction of a second to have them work out correctly. If you're a half second too late on anything from an ultimate combination to a healing orb, you're going to lose that fight.
And we've seen those break points here so far. And the good thing for New Zealand is that because they win on Brazil, with Gabriel diving right in, it immediately triggered the barrier, which let New Zealand layer in their support ultimate a little bit later. But here comes New Zealand right now. They're going to be fighting the high ground. They take the initiative a little bit early on, and Brazil very much poked down, but so is New Zealand. It is back and forth right now, and Dudu tries to clean up. It's 4-on-4, and Huu right now is being the hero for New Zealand.
Well, he's going to have to be. Brazil running a composition that maybe New Zealand was not exactly planning for. They've got a Pharah and Mercy in the skies. That's where a majority of their damage is coming from with these damage-boosted rockets. This is a stage where you can slightly avoid the Pharah Mercy if you have good control early on. And now they have to fight down on the ground, and first capture will go to Brazil. And I wonder if New Zealand's going to switch anything up here. You need something to at least pressure this combination of Pharah Mercy out of the sky.
Well, some teams, when they see Pharah Mercy, they try to just dominate the ground, or they try and make their Genji be anti-air. Neither option is usually ideal, but it can work depending on the situation and how good the Pharah is. No matter what, though, Brazil has put themselves in a really good position. And you see Maurice really delaying New Zealand here with these rockets coming in over the top. They have to respect it, and it slows them down for their next attempt.
Oh, this is the great thing about having control of the point as you have a Pharah Mercy. You're getting free damage over the top all the time, and anytime that anyone spreads out, you get that happening. Willix eats a giant rocket, Neil there for the cleanup.
But what we saw there is that it really disrupted the timing from New Zealand, where Willix probably thought more people were in with them, but they were just recovering from Maurice, peppering them with rockets from above. So that is the power of this Pharah right now, and also how New Zealand has not necessarily dealt with it all that well.
The spacing and positioning was not necessarily there for New Zealand. You saw 2 tanks come in and Willix, and they all went their own separate ways. That is no way to deal with the Pharah and Mercy. Right now, they do discord the Pharah, but they have to have some follow-through. You generally want to see a 76 in this situation, because the skybox is so high on this map that Pharah's so out of reach.
Well, they were looking to the sky, but did they get the weather report? Because right now, there could be some rain. Maurice looking for an opportunity, but while he's doing this, Willix takes down everyone in the point. Maurice, control your house, man. Oh, my goodness.
Well, the dead live yet again, though, because Resurrection is going to undo all of that hard work as Maurice comes back in. They've not been able to take control yet, and now able to get back onto the point, trying to deal with the remainder of these tanks. It's fine to kill a lot of people on the other team, but if you don't kill a Mercy who's been alive the entire game, you're going to have problems as she brings everyone else back to life. They do sneak in a cap there towards the end, does New Zealand.
So the good part about New Zealand on this push here, though, they've really yet to secure this out. Respawns coming in both sides, and Brazil, oh no, they got to recap it. Not just yet. New Zealand gets back in. They drop the beat. Coolermaster's down. So even though that got a little bit dicey, Brazil should be getting thrown back. But to go back to what we were talking about before, New Zealand immediately going for the cover of the point was very good. It didn't leave Maurice with options to shoot.
It's the smartest way to deal with it. If you're not going to try to take out a threat from the Pharah and Mercy, you can somewhat ignore them. There's a house, it's got a roof. It's good to be under a roof when it's raining justice from above. Willix also with the huge cleanup. He just hero plays there. The res does come out. He's trying to anti-air Pharah.
You know what time it's not good to be under a roof? When there's a ninja in your house with a katana. That's the time where you want to get away from that roof. So it really, both teams with differing goals there.
See, I would never notice the ninja in my house because he's a ninja.
Well, he would save you for last because he feels like you would have the most terror.
All right, fair enough. Well, the damage boosted rockets do come in over the top, and that is a huge kill from Neil on the ground, off screen, able to take out Willix as he is going to be part of the answer to this. Justice about to rain, does find an angle here.
Well, he finds an angle, but the door was effectively slammed. That is good weatherproofing if I've ever seen it, but the resurrection is back up in Brazil. Not quite out of this fight yet. Claro giving them a bit of life. Marie's back in this fight, but with Claro going down, he's not going to have much sustain, and he will fall again.
A resurrection to stay even is not the res that you want. You want reses to give yourself an advantage. Kind of forced his hand right there. They had to use it. They thought maybe Mears could bring it back for him. And New Zealand's done a great job of controlling this point. It's difficult to take the points back as Pharah and Mercy. You want to be in control, get free damage, have free reign of the sky. Now they're prepared for it. Very likely the last fight incoming here, ZP.
Well, here's the thing. New Zealand can treat Brazil to their House of Horrors right now, where they can go inside, avoid the rockets, and bring the blade. Willix, though, holding into the back, and he's going to the house once more. The blade is out. One immediately looking for more. Getting juked. Razzle Dazzle coming in from Dudu, and he's able to really mitigate most of that Dragon Blade. Still, though, Willix in the fight, reflects the rocket, and it's overtime for Brazil, where they must stay on this point.
This has been great from New Zealand. After the first push incoming onto the Pharah Mercy, they've really figured out that it is this area in which they want to fight. Willix has done a lot of work. Mures will take down Signed, but New Zealand gets on the board. No more goose eggs for either of these teams.
This group, now every team has a map victory. No one is going home without at least something to be proud of.